Welcome to the London School of English Live and happy 1st of April. We have a great and very relevant topic for today, which is British humor. And our expert English language trainer, Emma Palmieri, will share with you her insight and useful English expressions. We also have interactive quizzes, and you can participate in them by sharing your answers in the live chat next to the video. You can ask your questions in the live chat as well, and we will answer them at the end of the live stream. Here with us today, we also have my colleague Perrine Chor from our sales team. And over to Perrine for a few words about our English language courses.
Thank you very much, Olga. Our school, the London School of English, is offering face-to-face training in London and virtual group classes, which I highly recommend. We have a wide range of options for you to choose from general English courses, exam preparation, to business English. And I honestly think that this is the best opportunity for you to practice your English and also get a chance to taste a bit of British humor, which is the topic today.
Thank you, Perrine. And Emma, over to you for the main content. And also, I want to say welcome to everyone who's joining us today. We already can see that Frank Kunz has just joined us. Hello, Frank. And yeah, so Emma, over to you.
Okay, so hello everybody and welcome. Obviously, humour is not unique to British people. You have humour in every language, but for British, I think it has humour absolutely everywhere, all around us, and we use it all the time. Nothing is safe from being made fun of. Even things like funerals or religion or crime, anything that, you know, even is maybe a sensitive topic, we make fun of. The British people don't like or trust people who take themselves too seriously. So, for example, compare America's Donald Trump to the UK's Boris Johnson. It's difficult to imagine Donald making fun of himself on TV as Boris has. I don't know if you know, but Boris, before he was Prime Minister, was on lots of TV quiz shows, making jokes about himself and about his political party. And so he was always, what we say, sending himself up, making fun of himself. And that's part of the reason why he became popular and eventually became Prime Minister. It cuts both ways too. Apparently, even the Queen likes to entertain her family at Christmas by doing hilarious impressions of the statesmen she's met. Apparently, she's very good, but her family would say that, wouldn't they? So today, we're going to be talking about different types of humour that are popular in the UK, see examples, jokes of how it's used, and learn some language expressions around humour. And this is what we're going to start with today. Okay, we're going to start with some very common expressions used when we're talking about comedy and jokes. Okay, so let's have a look and see if we can match these 10 phrases to their definitions. Of course, they are not in the right order. So I'm going to show you now. These are the phrases and words, and can you match them to their definitions? So first of all, number one, this isn't very funny, but we'll see how it's used later on. He dumped his girlfriend. He dumped his girlfriend. Does anybody know what this would mean? A, B, C, etc. Dumped. I can tell you it's not a good thing. Any ideas? No. So he dumped his girlfriend means D. He ended his relationship with his girlfriend. Okay, so that's not very nice. Okay, well done, Cecilia. Yes, it's D. So that's not a very nice thing to experience. I don't know if any of you have gone through this. It's not a nice thing to be dumped. Okay, it's obviously not a very tactful way to say it, but it's very commonly used in conversations. Okay, the next one, a phrase this time. Number two, I'll let myself out. Now, this is not used literally, it's used like an idiom. So it's more the idea. So when do you think we might use this phrase? This is a bit tricky, this one. Any ideas? So it's got the idea of leaving a place, yourself. Why might you want to do that? Let's have a look. Okay, so I'll let myself out. The correct answer is I. Well done, Federico. Okay, so I. So this is the expression you use to show that you know the joke is terrible. Okay, so you tell a joke and you know that everybody's going to go, oh, honestly, is that funny? No, it's not funny. So before they say that, you say, oh, I'll let myself out. Okay, so it's a humorous way to say, oh, yes, I know the joke is terrible. Sorry, but I had to say it. Okay, so it's often used by comedians, this expression. Okay, next one. In hindsight, number 3, in hindsight. You might know this from your general English if you've been to the school or studied online, general English. It's a very useful expression. What does it mean? A, B, C, in hindsight. Don't worry, Cecilia. Have a go at number 3, in hindsight. Any idea? So you've got the idea you're looking back, behind, you're looking. Any ideas? Yes, very good. Yes, G, okay? So looking back at what happened, okay? So if you're in hindsight, you're looking back and seeing what happened. So for example, you might say something along, my sister got divorced last year. In hindsight, she should never have married her husband, okay? So now we look at it thinking that they weren't a good match, you know, they didn't know it at the time, but in hindsight, maybe they shouldn't have got married. Okay, next one, going back to the topic of comedy, slapstick humor. What kind of humor is this? You might see this, for example, in Mr. Bean or Lauren Hardy that we might look at. It's a type of humor you might see on TV. Any ideas what it might be? What kind of humour do you think it is? Okay, time up. So slapstick humour is, well done. Joya, well done. H, okay, physical humour, falling over, etc. I don't know if you find this funny. I don't know if I do so much. But it's more with things like you see typically like sort of men going across the road with a ladder, knocking things over, that kind of thing. Okay, it's what we call slapstick humour. Okay, next we have stoic. Stoic, this is an adjective. Okay, you might have this word in your own language, in which case this will be a very easy question if you've got it in your own language. But what do we think it means? Okay, it's an adjective. It's positive adjective, I think we can say. So what do we think it matches with in a definition? Well done, Joya, super fast. C, strong and resilient. Very good. And able to tolerate difficult circumstances. Okay. So we talk about stoicism is the noun. Okay, is that ability to withstand difficult situations, like for example, coronavirus. You might say it's very important for the people to be stoic, to be strong, not to panic or become hysterical, if something bad happens, but to stay strong and calm and able to deal with it. Okay, the next, going back to the idea of comedy, this is a sentence, but I want to look at the last part. The audience were rolling in their seats. What were they doing in their seats? They were rolling in their seats. Again, idiomatic expression. What do we think it might mean? Okay, rolling in their seats. Let's have a look and see if we can find it for the definitions. Hello, to Sunil from India. So the audience were rolling in their seats. What were they doing? Okay, 2 people, super fast. Well done, Grace and Joya. Okay, the audience were laughing a lot. Okay, rolling in their seats. You got the idea, laughing so hard they couldn't even sit up properly. They were just on the floor, rolling around. Okay, very, very good. Hopefully, some of these jokes at the end, you might be rolling in your seats, or maybe not. We'll see. Okay, 8, we'll talk about to be the butt of the joke. To be the butt of the joke. Okay, so again, it's related to humour. What do we think this means? Do we think it's a good thing or the bad thing? Hello, Joyce. To be the butt of the joke. Any ideas of what it might mean? Yes, well done, Grace. Okay, so E, to be the object of the joke. Okay, so if you're making fun of a politician, you say that politician is the butt of the joke, or that person is the butt of the joke. Very good. So the answer is E, to be the object of the joke. Okay, I've realized I've missed one out. Apologies. Okay, got ahead of me. So I missed out number 7, which is this joke leaves me cold. Okay, this joke leaves me cold. Apologies. What do we think this joke leaves me cold matches with? Any ideas? I think some of you got it already, I think, looking down. So Joya and Jusparge, this joke leaves me cold, matches with F. I don't think this joke is funny. I don't know if you have the same expression in your language, but this joke leaves me cold means what? That's not funny. Oh, okay. So maybe if you tell a joke and the person you're telling it to says, oh, that joke leaves me cold, it's not funny at all, then you say, because you told the joke, I'll let myself out to show, yeah, I know it's not funny, okay, in a good humor. Okay, so now we're at number 9, to feel dated. I think this is quite an obvious one. I think you can understand it really from these words, to feel dated. If we say humour feels dated, or a film or a comedy feels dated, what do we think it might mean? To feel dated? Any ideas? Yes, well done, Joyce. It is B, to be old-fashioned. So dated is the idea of belonging to the past, a previous date. To feel dated. Very good. And Jusparge, well done. Okay, number 10, the last one. And I love this word. I think this is a really nice idea. To tease. To tease. So I can say that my family tease me a lot. But what does it mean? To tease. What do you think of? It's quite a nice thing to do. Any ideas? tease somebody. No, not E. It is A. Well done, Joyce. Again, to make fun of with affection, okay? So to tease means to make fun of with affection. So for example, if it's Easter soon and you love chocolate, then maybe somebody from your family can tease you by pretending to hide your chocolates from you, okay? And say, oh, I'm not going to give it to you, you know, affectionate joking around, often with members of your family or friends that you know really well. Okay, well done, everybody. I think we did really well on those 10 expressions. Hopefully they're useful for you. And now listen out to them as I explain different styles of humour. Okay, the first thing to say, this is my get out clause, what makes something funny depends on the times and the audience it was written for, as well as your personal sense of humour. So, for example, I've enjoyed many a Shakespeare play, but his jokes can leave me cold. For example, Shakespeare joke, I do desire we may be better strangers. This is meant to be really funny. Personally, meh, I don't get it. I understand you're saying I don't want to be friends with you, but I don't find it particularly amusing. However, Shakespeare's tragedies, Macbeth, Romeo and Juliet, Lear, the words he used in these plays, these tragic plays, speak to me and touch me in a way his comedies don't. In his day, though, 500 years ago, I imagine, like his tragedies, they were comedy gold and the audience were rolling in their seats all those years ago. But I think times have changed. And so people don't appreciate his humour. Maybe those who don't understand his jokes because times are different. Even in the more recent past, so we're talking in the 1970s, say, which is what, 50 years ago, got people like Benny Hill. A bit further back, you got people like Laurel and Hardy. I don't know if you remember them from the 1930s, 1940s. A lot of slapstick humor. To me, they feel really dated, okay? And often very dependent on gender and ethnic stereotypes, okay? So for me, I just don't find them amusing. But maybe that's just me. What do you think, Perrine, Olga? Do you find them amusing? You're on mute, Perrine.
Yes, sorry. I was talking about Benny Hill, the picture you showed earlier. I remember watching the sitcom when I was a kid, and I found that very funny, you know, the music and people running around and running at high speed. But when I watched it later, I just didn't find that funny anymore. So, yeah, I mean, of course, as you said, like with time, humor changes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
The time
I agree with you, Corinne. And Emma, Benny Hill is definitely one of the comedians that I found funny when I was growing up. But I think right now, what I would prefer will probably be kind of current comedians that you can find on YouTube, and there are so many diverse people there too.
Absolutely. Like it's a good place to check out for humor, and maybe like be good online on the side. If you've got some favorite comedians and comedy shows, maybe you can tell us what they are and share it. That would be really great. Some ideas, and I'll share some of my ideas at the end. Anyway, my point is that humor is subjective. You might find British comedy hilarious, okay, or you might prefer American humor, or both of them might leave you cold. But hopefully, after this talk today, at least you will understand it a little bit better. Okay, so the first style of humour I'm going to talk about is the most common one for British people, I think. You find it everywhere, in business, in the shops, in the street, in the home, everywhere. And this is self-deprecation. Now, what does this mean? Okay, it just basically means you're laughing at yourself, okay, and making yourself the butt of the joke, okay. Even Americans don't have it in quite the same way. They have a little bit of it, but not as much. And often Americans think that the British have really low self-esteem because we're always saying bad things about ourselves, okay? However, British people don't see it that way. They see it as a joke, and they also see it as a quality which is quite charming, okay? Very attractive. And I guess it's because it shows humility, because you can see the bad things in yourself, and also a sense of humor, which, as we've said before, people like Boris Johnson, is crucial if we're going to like somebody. Remember all those romantic comedies in the 90s with Hugh Grant? Do you remember those? And he was always playing basically the same sort of very British gentleman character, wasn't he? Okay. That is exactly the style of humor that he used in these films very often. Like, sort of, oh, you wouldn't want to go out with a man like me, ha ha ha. You know, he was always making fun of himself. Okay. And the great thing about self-deprecating humor is it's safe because you're making fun of yourself. You are the butt of your jokes. Okay. So the idea is it's meant to be a way of showing humor, but in the same way, it doesn't risk offending anybody because you're laughing about yourself, okay? So we use it a lot, and you'll hear it a lot in anything you watch on television or films that you see, or in the UK, when you're just in the shops or in the workplace or wherever. People will very often make fun of themselves. So before you think, oh, this person has a very low view of themselves, think first of all, it might be a joke. It might be this self-deprecation that I've heard so much about. Okay, close to self-deprecation is another style of humor related to it, and that is understatement. This is classically old-fashioned British humor, okay? For example, when talking about 2020, last year, I could say, we've had better years, okay? In my view, 2020 was a terrible year. We had the coronavirus, we've Brexit on its way. We've had lots of people who've lost their jobs, the economy in terrible situation. Then we've had like sort of people dying. Obviously, that's not the best year, let's say. But I can't even bring myself to say it's a terrible year. I say not the best year, or we've had better years. Okay, we can't bring ourselves to be as direct as to say it's a terrible year. I think this is because we have an image of ourselves, the British, as a stoic people, okay? I'm not saying it's true, I'm just saying this is our image of ourselves. And we have this idea we mustn't make a fuss, and we must always put a positive spin on things. We must always interpret things in a positive way, okay? There's a classic example of this we get taught at schools. And this is during the expedition to the South Pole in 1912, so over 100 years ago. I don't know if you know this man. This man is Captain Oates. He was part of the group that tried to go to the South Pole to be the first there, and they failed. And as they were coming back, there was a terrible, terrible snowstorm, okay? And they were trapped in their tent. And Captain Oates was injured, and he realized if he stayed with the others, then they would be slowed down and then they would all die, okay? So what did he do? Did he say, oh, I'm very sorry, I'm going to die in here? No, no, no. He just told them, I'm going outside for a while. I may be sometime. And these are very, very famous words of a true Briton, as we like to think, okay? And then, of course, he stepped out into the snow and he died. So he was a very long time. And this is a huge idea that we've had, and things have changed a lot, obviously, since 1912 in the UK and around the world. But this keep calm and carry on attitude is still very much how the British like to see themselves. You see this symbol all the time if you come to the UK on tea towels and on posters and on mugs. You can buy it in a million different iterations. So this expresses ourselves in our humour, in our language. So for example, let's say it's 45 degrees outside, boiling hot. Do we say it's boiling hot? No, we say it's a bit warm, okay? Or when we're furious with our colleagues, okay, and we we want to shout at them and hit them and scream, why the hell are you doing that? We don't say that. We say, I was a little bit upset about what you said, okay? We very much underplay it, okay? And I guess this is a combination of showing stoicism and humour at the same time. So, yes. So be aware, this is nothing to be aware of. If somebody says to you, I'm a little bit upset, maybe they are a little bit upset, or maybe they're using the classic British understatement and actually they're really, really annoyed with you. Okay, so bear it in mind. Okay, another aspect of humour we enjoy a lot, again, you see this on TV and comedy shows, and also maybe in the office or in the workplace, British people love this, is punning. Punning. Now, what is punning? This is a kind of wordplay where one word sounds like another word. For example, too tired. Too tired. Okay, so the first one, too tired, means very tired, exhausted. And the other one, too tired, means two tires, like the rubber part round the wheel. Okay, so it sounds the same. Yes, too tired, too tired. Same sound, different word. Okay, so we have the pun using these similar sounds. Why couldn't the bike stand up by itself? It was too tired. Is this hilariously funny? I'll let myself out. Okay, another one that we have is chips and ships. Okay, now this doesn't sound exactly the same, but it sounds close enough for a pun. Okay, so we have this lovely joke, this pun. What do sea monsters eat? Fish and chips. Okay, maybe it's not hilarious, but you see that ships and chips sound the same. Fish and chips, a famous dish, so sea monsters eat fish and chips. We love this. It's showing for us a kind of clever wordplay, and it demonstrates, again, our sense of humour and our skill with words. Okay, a pun also works in a slightly different way sometimes. It can take advantage of a word that has two meanings. So, for example, fly. Flies. Okay, so to fly in a plane, flies. The plane flies from South Africa to Egypt. Okay, or flies as in zzz, okay. So flies has two different meanings. There's a verb and there's a noun. Okay, and so you have this idea. Two meanings. Time flies like an arrow. Fruit flies like a banana. So think about it. Time flies, zoom, like an arrow. Fruit flies like a banana. Okay, again, like is a verb in one, is a preposition in the other. So we find this hugely amusing. Okay, I hope it doesn't leave you cold. Okay, now I'm going to tell you my favourite pun. Very exciting times. Okay, my favourite pun is, of course, I'm an English teacher. It's about grammar. Okay, what could be more fun than grammar? Okay, you ready? My favourite pun. The past, present, and future walk into the bar. It was tense. Get it? I'll let myself out. Okay. Lastly, a type of humour which we see more and more on TV. This is banter, okay? Banter. Banter is humorous, spontaneous conversation between people who know each other well. Friends, family, or good colleagues. Now, this is important that you know each other well and you have a good relationship, because it's a very informal style of conversation and it can sound very insulting, or maybe it can even be very insulting, but because you have a good relationship with the person you're talking to, you understand it's a joke, okay? So if a stranger says it to you, they can't banter with you in quite the same way because you don't have that relationship, you don't have that understanding. So it's most often used with people that know each other and have a good relationship and is a positive atmosphere, okay? So it's a way, it might sound insulting, but it's a way that lots of British people use to show their affection to somebody, okay? You know, if I was a stranger, I couldn't say this to you, but because I know you well, you will understand it's a joke and it will bring our relationship, make our relationship stronger, bring us closer together. So it can involve, for example, giving somebody a nickname. Could, you know, maybe be a slightly insulting nickname, okay? So maybe like the "Oi, Shorty," you know, that kind of thing. If it's a stranger calling you Shorty, maybe you're slightly insulted, like, how dare you make fun of my height, okay? But because it's your friend who you know and love very well, it's obviously a joke and you can bond together, okay? Or it could be teasing them about an unfashionable hobby, or maybe a disappointing performance by their football team. Now, I'm sure in your own countries, in your own languages, you also have many examples of pretty much the same thing. I think this is a universal thing. It's not just a British thing. And it plays out everywhere, in the office, in the pub, in the WhatsApp chat group. But it's just to show you it's really an essential part of British life, okay? And what is particularly striking is that British people are not known, let's say, for saying fond things to each other. Sometimes we find it hard to express our feelings and to say exactly how we feel about each other. But banter is a way which is socially acceptable. We can show that, you know, we have a good joke together. I can say what I like to you. It's clear we love each other and we're very good friends. Okay, so it's a way of showing affection in perhaps because other ways we find more difficult. Okay, now I've given you the summary of all these different styles of humour. I'm going to test you and see if you can identify different styles of humour from these jokes, okay? So I'm going to show you some jokes from very well-known British comedians and comments, as you'll see, from my own family and from other British people I know. And I want you to match it with what kind of humour you think it demonstrates. A pun, so that's wordplay, remember. Banter, sort of conversation, informal conversation between different people. Understatement, when you deliberately say it's less than it really is. And self-deprecating, when you're making fun of yourself in some way. Okay, it doesn't have to be yourself, it could also be the group of people to which you belong. Okay, so the first joke, let's see if you can match it to the kind of humour. Okay, so British people are like coconuts. This is a comedian's joke, by the way. Hard on the outside, but sweet once you crack us. Isn't that lovely? Okay, so you might seem unfriendly, but sweet inside. Also, often found full of alcohol and holding an umbrella. Okay, so this is a joke. What kind of joke do we think it is? Okay, a pun, banter, understatement, or self-deprecating? Any ideas? Very good, Grace. Self-deprecating, because we're making fun of British people, okay? And it's a British stand-up comedian, okay? So they're making fun, you know, the British people. Oh, they're always holding umbrellas and full of alcohol. Ha, 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 ha. Okay? Very good. Okay, let's try the next one. Okay. I regret rubbing ketchup in my eyes, but that's hindsight. Notice the spelling. That's hindsight, but it sounds like another word. Okay. What do we think? Any ideas? Hindsight. Try to say it again. So obviously ketchup made by Heinz, but it could also be something else. Okay, so I regret rubbing ketchup in my eyes, but that's hindsight is a pun. Okay, the idea of hindsight, seeing something before, and Heinz ketchup. Okay, so it's meant to be a pun. Hindsight. Okay, meant to sound similar. Right, okay, now the next one is not actually a joke, it's actually a real life quote, okay? So, a British pilot announces after flying into a volcanic ash cloud, ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. We have a small problem. All 4 engines have stopped. We are doing our damnedest to get them going again. I trust you are not in too much distress, okay? Thankfully, the plane landed safely. Okay, so as I said, this isn't a joke. This has actually really happened. So 4 engines have stopped. Imagine how you might be feeling. And he said, we have a small problem. We are doing our damnedest. We are doing our best to get them going again. I trust you are not in too much distress, okay? What kind of humour or situation do you think he is exhibiting in this situation? Any ideas? Pun, banter, understatement, or self-deprecating? What do we think? Banter? I'm not so sure it's banter, Federico. Banter will be like 2 people more talking together, making fun of each other. Any idea? I think it's self-deprecating. Not sorry, self-deprecating. No, I don't. I think it's understatement. Okay, so understatement is when you're saying something smaller. It's dropped in, well done, and Adrienne and Grace. Now it all comes in. Joyce has written excessive optimism. Very good. That is hilarious, Joyce. Well done. Yes. So an understatement, as in like you're trying to like sort of to make it sound less than it is, okay? To comic effect, usually, but actually, maybe in this case, to make them feel calmer, because obviously he doesn't want to say, 4 engines have stopped working on this plane. Oh my God, what should we do? That's not a good reaction, okay? So understatement, being typically British and stoic and keeping calm. Right, the next one, okay? 2 people involved here. That gives you a big clue. Steve says, my girlfriend says I'm the best looking man she's met. And Tom says she needs glasses. Okay, so do we think this is a pun, banter, understatement, or self-deprecating? What do we think? Two people involved. So as I said, that's a big clue. Any ideas? Yes, Jerry. Hello, Jerry. It is banter. Well done. Yes, so 2 people. Okay, typical thing like sort of, oh, going out with the supermodel, like, oh, does she need glasses, etc., etc. As in, you're so ugly. Why is a supermodel going out with you, etc. Okay, it's fun conversation between friends. Okay, next one. We have, this is actually another joke from a comedian. I was dumped, remember that means he was left, by a girl who said I was too obsessed with The Apprentice. This is a show on TV, I don't know if you know it, in America and UK and many other countries. I remember she told me it was over and I said, thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for the opportunity. Now, possibly this could actually be two jokes, okay, here. But thank you for the opportunity is a line, let's say, from The Apprentice. So what do we think it is? Do we think it's a pun, a banter, understatement, or self-deprecating? Any ideas? Which one it could be? I think this one is, yes, Joyce. You're on fire, Joyce. No, I'm not sure if it is actually understatement. I think it might be more self-deprecating. So self-deprecating is when you're making fun of yourself. So I thought here, you know, I was dumped by a girlfriend and it was true. Like she said, I was obsessed with The Apprentice. And then when she left me, I used a line from The Apprentice. So this is how obsessed with The Apprentice I was, okay? Or it could be a pun, maybe, if you think it from The Apprentice, you know, we're making a joke of it. Okay, next one. Me and my partner were going on holiday to Norway this year, but we costed it up. And in the end, we couldn't afford it. Afford it. A fjord is like a body of water, often found in Norway. Okay, so that gives you a big clue. What kind of humour do we think that is? Any ideas? Is it going to be a pun, banter, understatement, or is it self-deprecating humour? What do we think? It is a pun, Jerry, yes. Okay, a fjord. Yeah, absolutely. Very good, very well done. Okay, now this is an example from my own family. Okay, so this is true. This is a conversation I overheard between my husband and my mum. Okay, my husband came into the house and he asked my mother, "Where's my lovely wife? Isn't he romantic?" Okay, and my mum says, "I don't know, but Emma's upstairs." Okay, so the implication being she doesn't know where his lovely wife is, but his horrible wife, Emma, is upstairs. Okay. Oh, I like this. Drop Den, you've made your own you made your own pun. That is very, very good. Okay. Excellent. Very good. So what do we think is this one here? Where's my lovely wife? I don't know, but Emma's upstairs. Do we think it's a pun, banter, understatement, or self-deprecating? Yes, it is banter. Well done. Okay. So in this case, banter between my mum and my husband. So again, within the family. Okay. And I wasn't offended, obviously. It was clearly banter. My mother does think I'm lovely. Okay, finally, we come to a very famous example of humour from a very famous British comedian, Spike Milligan. Okay, he is so famous for his humour, he even carried it over to his tombstone, as we can see from here. Okay, so when he died, he commissioned this gravestone, and on it he had carved, we can't really see, so it's made bigger at the side, "I told you I was ill." Those were his last words, apparently. "I told you I was ill," just before he died. Okay, so what kind of humour is this an example of for the last time? Can you tell me? Is it a pun, banter, understatement, or self-deprecating humour? What do we think? Spike Milligan's very last words before he died. You might have known him He was on a show called The Goon Show, very famous show in the 1960s, and many other things as well. Irish comedian. Self-deprecation, absolutely. I think it was self-deprecation. Also, I think it's a little bit of understatement as well, because obviously he died. So he's not only ill, he's died. So it's a combination, I think, yes, of understatement and self-deprecation. Very good. Okay. You should be more vigilant. Thank you for that advice, Joyce. Yes. Okay, so that is the end of the quiz. Well done. I think we're all winners. I'll give you a pat on the back, okay? And I'm going to conclude by saying, of course, there are other styles of humour, okay? We've just looked at 4 of the main ones, okay? Puns, banter, understatement, self-deprecation. There are clearly other styles of humour out there. For example, Monty Python. We haven't mentioned Monty Python. Huge British icons, Monty Python, who exploited surrealism to great effect in their shows and their films. Mr. Bean, I don't know if you know Mr. Bean. Slapstick, we mentioned it earlier. He really reinvented it for the modern age. Ricky Gervais, if you've seen him in Life After Death and obviously The Office, has made a career out of quite dark humour. That's making jokes about things that normally we don't make jokes about. But even in these very varied styles of humour, we do also see, as you see in Ricky Gervais, elements of self-deprecation. He's always making fun of himself. He's very aware of his own flaws. Banter, again, I think in most comedies, yeah, we see kind of elements of banter, like sort of humorous conversation, digs at each other, and punning everywhere. It's just part of our DNA. I started off with the Queen, and I'm going to finish with the Queen. Most British person you could possibly think of. Therefore, even for the Queen, humour part of her everyday life. Okay, and this is an example of humour being an everyday part of the Queen's life. Okay, this is apparently a true story, but I can't prove it. Okay, so one day she's out walking with her bodyguard. Clearly, she doesn't go walking by herself. She's out walking on one of her estates up in Scotland, okay? And she bumps into an American tourist, okay? And they get chatting. The American tourist doesn't know who she is. During the course of the conversation, the tourist asks her, she says, say, I understand that the Queen lives near here. Have you guys ever met the Queen? And then the Queen looks at him and says, no. And then she turns to her bodyguard and with a completely straight face, she says, but I believe he has. Okay. Poor bodyguard. I don't know what he said after that point, but it's a true story. But it's just another example of how humour is around us all the time, no matter who we are. Okay, thank you very much. I hope you have found this talk informative. And the next time you're talking to a British person or enjoying a British TV show or working with a British person, hopefully you're in a better position to understand British humour. And I can see some of you already starting to make jokes. So excellent.
Thank you very much, Emma, for this amazing and really funny live stream. And also fantastic to see so many people participate with their answers in the live chat. I know that there was a little bit of a delay, so you might have answered correctly right on time, but the internet connection might have lagged a little bit. So in any case, well done, everyone. And please write your questions and comments in the live chat, and we will try to answer your questions. Meanwhile, Perrine and Emma, I know that you spend a lot of time with our clients taking English courses in London and online, and perhaps you might sometimes see our clients being confused about the use of humor in English. What advice would you give to them?
I would say, well, from the perspective of someone who learned English, so it happened to me where you know, someone said something that was meant to be funny and I was completely, you know, in the dark. I would say just ask and ask to clarify. It's like, oh, did I miss something? It's just a very good opportunity to learn, and as we've said, you know, it's just the way British people communicate. So it would be a shame if you're missing out on that. Just ask and clarify. Oh, is there something? What does that mean? And you'll just learn a new idiom, and then you'll learn a new way to communicate as well. So that's a brilliant opportunity. As we've seen, like we have some of our participants making jokes as well. So that's great. I think you should just try and ask, and it's just a good way to learn to make new jokes too.
Absolutely, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think enjoy it is a key thing, and
Mm-hmm.
always be aware that we use humor a lot. So maybe if you hear something and you think that's a strange thing to say, remember it could be a joke. So don't take it too personally. And also remember that British people, as I said, we find humor very important, and we're very proud in our own little way of our sense of humor and our comedies and everything. So if you want to ask, it will always be taken in the right way, because we're like going, oh wow, they're interested in, you know, our sense of humor or in our culture, and that's always very flattering, isn't it? So I think it's always good to ask, and to show interest and curiosity can never be a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
Great, thank you. And Perrine, I remember you mentioned our English courses online and face-to-face at the beginning of the live stream. And I know that you also wanted to mention our intercultural training, which helps people in the situation in the situations, for example, when they are just fresh on the ground in the UK and kind of trying to understand the culture. Can you tell us a little bit more about this?
Yeah, sure, of course, Olga. So we were talking about, you know, understanding jokes in everyday life. And sometimes when you need to work in English and you have people from different countries, from different cultures, from different nations, it's just making it a little bit more challenging, because you may want to crack up a joke, or someone may have made a joke and it's not sounding that funny, and it can create a little bit of tension. So we have those very wonderful courses which are intercultural training, and it really helps you communicate better with people who are from different teams, different multicultural teams, or if you're working on a global project, or if you're working overseas as well. It helps you raise awareness to these differences, so then you understand your culture better, and then you understand other people's cultures better. And in the end, it improves communication between everyone's involved. So one of the courses I attended, which I highly recommend, is Working with the British, and it's very appropriate in this live stream. And it really helped me understand a little bit better some of the things that, as Emma said, is everywhere in communication, which is humor. So when to use it, when not to use it, and how to understand when it's a good time, you know, because as Emma was saying, with the example of the captain in the plane, it can diffuse, you know, a very tense situation. And intercultural training will then raise awareness. Well, you may think that humor is not appropriate, but sometimes it's just the best way to make people feel more comfortable. And I would really recommend that you have a look on our website. We have the London School of International Communication section, and we have many different courses which are linked to this subject. So we have Working with the British, Working Across Cultures, Developing Intercultural Competence, and all of those courses are really helping you understand people who are different from you a little bit better, and give you the tools to communicate more efficiently.
That's a great answer. Thank you so much, Perrine. And we actually have a question from Grace Comercio, who's asking us about the use of jokes in business presentations. Emma, what would you answer to this?
Well, the first thing I'd like to say is you've got a lovely cat, Grace. That is your cat. But I would say you've got to be quite careful if it's a multicultural audience, because as we said, people use humour in different ways around the world, as well as different times. But I would say one of the safest kinds of humour could be self-deprecating humour. I think most countries understand that a little bit. Don't do it too much, but a little bit of that maybe can go down quite well. I wouldn't do banter if you don't know them very well. It's a bit dangerous if you don't know them. But yeah, a bit of self-deprecating humour might be good, but I would show with your tone of voice and your facial expressions that you are joking. So smile as you say it, and maybe like sort of laugh a bit. Like if I go over a bit, tell me, okay? Like sort of, so if it's clear to your audience that it is intended as humour, okay, not as a serious point.
Mm-hmm.
Great, thank you. And we could go on, but I am aware of the time, and we have quite a few of our viewers saying thank you and happy Easter. So here's an example of a comment from Yari. So yes, happy Easter, and we know that everyone's looking forward to, depending on the country that you are in, potentially a long weekend. So we hope that you have a lovely weekend, and we would like to say thank you very much for participating. Thank you, Emma and Perrine, for all of your advice and tips and this fantastic content, Emma, that you prepared for the live stream. We hope to see you next week, because we will actually have almost a continuation of this live stream. Emma will be presenting again on some confusing facts and interesting things about British culture.
So many confusing things about British culture. I don't know where to start.
All right, and and we will see you soon, either on our live streams or in our classes online and face-to-face. Have a lovely weekend, a lovely happy Easter to everyone who is celebrating, and we'll see you soon.
Happy Easter.
Thank you everyone. See you very soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.